Hello and welcome to another Top Grades Made Easy video. We're looking at question 2. It's coming from the June 2022 paper. I've had to type this up because it's in copyright and you've got to go all over the internet to find the extract it was from. I'm not going to read the extract yet because I want to show you how to do the exam. I go straight down to the question. Well, obviously I've memorized the question because it's always the same every year, but I want to make some key points to you. We're always going to look at the writer's choice of something because it is the language question, and the two choices we're interested in are the words and phrases, what we will quote, and then the methods, what language features and techniques we're going to spot. Now, I'm going to write down a little checklist for myself in the exam of the techniques that I know will always come up. Less likely, very likely, almost inevitable, and very likely. So I've got 5 techniques that I am pretty certain will come up no matter what the question is. So I'm going to write about those, and when I write, I'm going to talk about what the words make us think or feel or predict. Okay, that's all I'm writing about every single time I do this question. Right, now we know that, let's dive in. Now you might expect my technique would be to read through this a number of times. I'll only do that if it's really difficult to understand. However, what I'm going to do is start writing straight away, okay, as soon as I find something to write about. So, I'm looking at the conflict between Kino and the scorpion. Right, let's read on. Kino's breath whistled in his nostrils and he opened his mouth to stop it. Okay, so he doesn't want to whistle, so he wants to be silent, presumably so the scorpion won't hear him. And then the startled look was gone from him and the rigidity from his body. So he must have been fearful before, but now he's going to act. Okay, so this is the quotation I'm going to write about first. And what am I going to say about it? Well, breathing and the nostrils and the mouth, these are all the senses. So I'm going to start with Steinbeck focuses on Kino's senses to make us realize how dangerous he thinks the scorpion is. Okay, there's my quote. Now I've got to explain how that makes him look dangerous or the scorpion look dangerous. Focusing on the whistled breath reveals how he has suddenly begun to listen to each sound and he has to stop it so that the scorpion can't escape his plan to kill it. Okay, so that's perfect. Got an explanation. In his mind a new song had come, the song of evil, the music of the enemy, of any foe of the family, a savage, secret, dangerous melody, and underneath the song of the family cried plaintively. Well, that's super weird. If I don't understand it, I'm just not going to write about it, okay? But I'm going to try and do this one because it's obviously a metaphor. There isn't a real song. It's in his mind. It's called the Song of Evil, and it's competing with the Song of the Family. The Song of Evil is the scorpion, and the Song of the Family is his desire to save his family from the scorpion. So, Kino reveals his fears in the form of metaphor with the Song of Evil, which represents the scorpion. Let's add another explanation to that. Calling it a song also implies that it is something ancient, traditional fear, which is passed down through the generations of his family. That is why also hears the metaphor, so I'm going to call it metaphorical, Song of the Family. Family, that's what we're all about, man. Okay, so that's 3 explanations. I'm going to just number these. Those of you who've watched my other videos will know why I'm doing that, because once I've got to 8, I'll know I've got enough to get full marks. Right, let's go back up. Did you notice the savage, secret, dangerous melody? I did because I primed myself to look for sibilants. And why do you think he uses that sibilance? Well, it's a scorpion, which also begins with the letter S. Sibilance is always to reveal something is sinister or peaceful. Obviously, this isn't peaceful. We're going for sinister, so I'm going to nick that. Steinbeck also emphasizes, this is a word that I can use all the time, the danger of the scorpion as a sinister presence through sibilance. I can get another explanation out of that. Okay, so I've got another explanation out of that one quote. I need 3 more. The scorpion moved delicately down the rope towards the box. Kino was in motion. His body glided quietly across the room, noiselessly and smoothly. So glided is a bit metaphorical. We might nick that. His hands were in front of him, palms down, and his eyes were on the scorpion. No real language techniques there. It sensed danger when Kino was almost within reach of it. Again, no language techniques. It stopped, and its tail rose up over its back in little jerks, and the curved thorn on the tail's end glistened. Now we're talking. So the end of the tail is like a curved thorn. That's quite interesting. It suggests that it's going to be piercing and dangerous, but it doesn't emphasize the poison, and so it perhaps suggests that Kino is going to get the better of it, just like you would with thorns in a garden. And that's also backed up with the little jerks, which makes it seem much easier to defeat. We get a strong sense that Kino will kill the scorpion from the description of its tail. Okay, I haven't really explained that yet, so I'm not going to get a mark until I've explained it. The metaphor, because I want that technique of a curved thorn, suggests that the tail is dangerous, but it doesn't emphasize the poison and appears more like a plant which can be easily weeded in the garden. Nice. Okay, so now I've got an explanation. I can get another explanation out of that. Because it moves with little jerks, we also understand that the much larger Kino is likely to win. This contrast, because I'm looking for a technique, so the contrast between little and Kino prevents us worrying that Kino will fail. Okay, so I've got 7. I'm very happy. Okay, tactically, I need to show that I've considered the whole thing, so I need something from the end as well. So I might be able to find quite a few quotes still from there, but I'm not going to do that because I only need one more. He could not move until the scorpion moved, and it felt for the source of the death that was coming to it. Kino's hand went forward very slowly, very smoothly. The thorned tail jerked upright. So I'm going to concentrate on the repetition of very and the use of adverbs slowly and smoothly. That's really easy to do. So this is reinforced through the repetition, and adverbs of the repetition of very implies that Kino has fully thought through his strategy and will win. Now I've got to write about the adverbs. I can get another explanation out. I wouldn't normally do this, but because it's right there staring me in the face and I've already spotted it, I can afford to put the extra explanation in. And the other reason to do that is, hey, one of my explanations might not be very good, and the examiner might say, oh, I want to give this 7 out of 8. And I go, no, you've got to give me 8. So here we go, we'll add the extra explanation. The adverbs also slow down the action, implying that Kino is almost thinking in slow motion because he has thought through his plan so well. Okay, so I've got 9 points, 9 paragraphs. Right, that is 309 words, which is actually quite a lot. If I go back to point 1, I realise that I've actually written 2 explanations there, and I hadn't spotted it earlier. So I've actually got 10 explanations, and I only need 8. I would get rid of my shortest ones if I were only going for 8. So here is my shorter version, having got rid of explanations I didn't need, to give me 273 words. That's more achievable. Obviously, I could write what I wrote in the time. Now, you don't have to lay it out like this in points, okay? What you will have been taught in school is to do what this school has done. Write 2 big, massive paragraphs, and then you'll get the marks. But the problem is, if you write 2 big paragraphs, you won't know how many explanations you've written, and therefore you won't know how many marks you've got, and when it's safe to stop writing. The teachers in this school have decided that the explanations are in blue, and when you go through, you'll see that there are 7 explanations. Now that leaves the examiner some wiggle room not to give this full marks. Whereas if you put your explanations in separate sections, it's really clear to the examiner how many explanations you've given, and it's much, much more difficult for them to say, oh, doesn't look like a full mark answer to me, I'm going to give it 6 or 7. Psychologically, that will be super hard because they can see the 8 explanations are there. Are how many explanations you need in the mark scheme? No, they're not. The mark scheme is just gut reaction. But the problem with gut reaction is that we can all easily disagree. And this is what AQA say to the examiners. Hey, go ahead and disagree, we don't care. We'll just let you give whatever grade you want as long as it's not more than 1 grade out. So if the senior examiner says, I think this answer is a grade 8, someone else could come along and give it a grade 7 and AQA would say, no bother, 7 it is. Even if you ask for a remark. But if you lay it out like this, you're pretty damn certain you're going to get 8 marks. Or you can just take the 2 paragraph approach that most schools use. Here is their version of a grade 5 answer. Oh look, it's also in 2 paragraphs. So, it doesn't necessarily get you the grades by writing in 2 paragraphs, does it? And, by the way, I agree with the marking of this one because there are 5 explanations in blue. I'm giving it 5 marks. The video coming up now is how to apply this method to question 4 of paper 1. Check it out.